Well, good morning. This is Pastor Larry, and it's time for another teaching tidbit. It's Wednesday morning. I guess it's February 18th. And so happy Wednesday, everybody, and hope this is the best day of your life, because it sure is the best day of mine. And but let you in on a little secret. Like every day that I wake up is the absolute best day of my life. And so that's just how it is. That's how I roll. Doesn't mean that things are perfect. I've never had a perfect day ever, but every day, I mean, bad things can happen in a day, during the day, but every day, once I made that decision, it's been years now, that when I wake up, it's the best day of my life. And so it's just a decision. And I love it. I'm glad I made that decision. So and I hope you are having the best day of your life. People would say, "Well, how are you doing?" I said, "Best day of my life." And I tell them, I said, yesterday was, and the day before that was, and I have a sneaky suspicion about tomorrow that'll be the best day of my life as well. And then let me frame it properly. Is because of what I'm going to say next. Is also because of my relationship with the Father through His Son, the Messiah, Yeshua, Yahusha, or Jesus Christ, because of my relationship with the Father through Him, that even if I didn't wake up, it's going to be the best day of my life, because I'll be with my Father in paradise. So it's hard to lose with that type of mindset, not just mindset, reality, with that type of reality, that because of my Father and my relationship, because the Messiah, when He was here, said, "You must be born again." And I think I shared last time, those two words in the Greek are geneo, born, and the nothen, again, also meaning from above or from the beginning, being born from above, or the way it was supposed to be in the beginning. Our spirits need to be alive unto Yah, and so that's the engine behind me, is the Father and His Word and His Ruach, or His Spirit, living on the inside of me, and it's awesome. It really is, and so it's the fabric of my life, or the framing of the way I see the world. Like I just see the world. I see people. Not because I'm perfect. It's because I constantly refer to Him, and so when I get settled, I settle back into who I really am. Who I really am is I'm a person who believes in the Most High God, and I believe in His Son, and I believe in His Word. And one of the tenets that I really try to adhere to is to love the Lord my God with all my heart, mind, and soul, and to love my neighbor as myself. And so because of that, when I settle on those two things, it's hard to look at people the way the world would want me to look at people. It's hard for me to look at people the way people really are. I really look at them. I'd rather look at them the way Yah does. He looks at them, that's somebody I love. And so I try to look at them like that, particularly when I get settled. I settle into who I really am, which is my body is. It says in First Corinthians, I believe it's chapter 6, or either Second Corinthians chapter 6, that my body is the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Holy Spirit. My body's the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh. And in Colossians 1:27, it says that Christ is in me, or the Mashiach is in me. So He's in me. Christ in me, the hope of glory. So, and you know what I mean? It says in Romans 12, it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So I've been doing that consistently. One is by being in touch with the Father, being in touch with His Word, being in touch with His Spirit, and so not perfect at it, not going to claim to be. I have days when I need to restructure, but when I settle myself, like all those things I said, that's my reality, which is best day of my life. My body's the temple of the Spirit of the living God, and that Christ is in me, or the Mashiach is in me. And with that, it's kind of hard, with that reality, knowing that that's my reality, it's kind of hard to stray too far. Doesn't mean I don't ever stray, but it's hard to stray too far when you get settled and you think you come back to yourself. Anyway, so all that. Why am I saying all that? Well, one is so that if to whet your appetite for you to not be in my image, but to be in the image that you were created. It says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 through 28, it says that he wanted to create man. He said, let us make man in our image and likeness. He wants you in his image and likeness. It says in John 4:24 that Yah, or God, is a spirit. So your spirit is to look like his spirit. It's supposed to be in his image and his likeness. So your spirit is to look like his spirit, and you are to act like him, because you're supposed to be the spitting image of him. So he wants you to look like him and to act like him. So forget religion. Religion are people just trying to look like him. But belief or believers are people that are acting like him in addition to looking like him. So forget religion, Christianity, like the terms and all, labels and nouns, and look at the actual verb and the living word, the activity, which is to be in his image and to look like him, to act like him. That's what we're ascribing to. And so that's why I'm talking about this, which is being born again. You get born again in his image and likeness. And the way to do that is accepting his son, the offering of his son's gift. His son was offered on the cross for you to make you righteous, so that he would be your God and King. And so that's the framework. That's all you have to do. You have to accept that offering, the free gift of his son's life, and accept him as your Lord and Savior. And then you start to change based on reading his word and getting around people that read his word. So that's it today for that. Last week we talked about word. This is a word study we're doing, called Reality Check is the series. And last week we talked about the term Jew. And today we're going to talk about, I was going to talk about Jewish, but I think that's self-explanatory. We're going to get on Judaism, but Jewish would be like it. Look, like the word, when you put ISH on something, it's saying you're like that, and so it's not too much of a stretch to go from the definition of what Jew was to what Jewish is. It's something. It's like it, and so you can go from there on your own. But we're talking about Judaism, and so here let me start out by saying this, and this is a frame. Judaism is not the Torah. The Torah is the Old Testament, the beginning of the Bible, and that's what the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's what they were to adhere to and to follow, was the Torah. Judaism is like the Torah is maybe in there a little bit with some, but Judaism is what the Messiah had a problem with when he came back, because when the children of Israel went into Babylon, they started really developing what was called the Talmud. And the Talmud was not the Torah. The Talmud was their oral things that they came up with, kind of based, I don't even want to say loosely, but based on the Torah, but is what they came up with. And like I said earlier about religion is a substitute for relationship. The Torah was their end for relationship with the Father, to be, by believing him, like Abraham, it says it was accounted unto him for righteousness because he believed what Yahuwah said. The Torah is what Yahuwah said. So righteousness relationship came as a result of believing what Yah had said, but the Judaism decided what they thought about what Yah had said. Like they came up with their own definition and expansion, and they got to the point where it wasn't even always recognizable. Of the Torah wasn't recognizable in their beliefs. Like, for example, especially today, and then there was another thing called Kabbalism, Kabbalah, which that's ingrained in there as well. Kabbalah was like the esoteric, some mystical knowledge based loosely on the Torah and the book of Zohar. And I know I don't mean to go all the way over there, but I'm just bringing up Judaism. Judaism is not based on the written word of the Most High. It's based on what people assumed and came up with about the word. And as a matter of fact, if one way, like for example, today's the Jews of today who practice Judaism believe that the Bible, or that the way you become Jewish is based on your mother. Well, if you read the Bible, you'll see that it didn't say the children of Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel or Leah. It says the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and it's particularly as people who call themselves believers or Christians in the New Testament. When you read the genealogy from Abraham on down and Adam on down, there are a couple of women listed in there, but it was their husbands being in the lineage is what caused them to be Israelite. So Judaism is taken that away and made it, if the mom's a Jew and you convert, and I'm not saying you can't convert, you can convert, and even in the Old Testament, and like I talked about last week in Exodus chapter 12, verse 40 on, if you read that, you'll see that after they came out of, it says a mixed multitude came out of Egypt. So all the people that came out of Egypt weren't pure blood Israelites, and then it goes on to say that, and if you choose to live with them, with the Israelites, and you're going to adhere to the laws, get circumcised, and all that, you could then be a part of the group. You're to be treated as though you're one of them, as one of the Israelites. That doesn't make you pure blood, though. But you're part of the tribe. You're part of Israel, but you're not part of one of the 12 tribes, unless it's in your DNA. And the reason why I'm saying that is because in Revelation chapter 7, it says that Yah has a specific delineation of people that he's using for a specific purpose. 12,000 out of the tribe of Judah, right on down to 12,000 out of the tribe of Benjamin. That wouldn't be the people that converted. It would be the people whose lineage were directly from those specific tribes. Now, look, you're like, how can they still exist? I don't know. Just like every hair on your head, Yah knows. He knows if he can figure out every hair of your head, every cell of your body, then I'm sure he can figure out who's from the tribe of Judah, Reuben, Simeon, Benjamin, Gad, or not, etc. So that's not my job. That's above my pay grade. I'm just saying what Yah said. And like I said before, I'm always going to go with what he says over what we come up with. And let me get back, and that brings me back to religion. Religion is what we come up with to make us look good in our eyes, thinking that we're looking good in Yahuwah's eyes, or God's eyes, or Yah's eyes. And on Sunday with our message this weekend, I said we need to be delivered from the deception of religion. The deception of religion makes us think that we're okay from the things that we're doing, whereas really the only way that we're okay is because of the things that Yah has done. See, because ever since Adam and Eve rebelled, there was really nothing we could do on our own to make us okay. Like hiding ourselves with fig leaves didn't make us okay. Yah sacrificing those animals to give us skins of clothing to cover us made us okay. Yah telling us how to sacrifice animals, and then they're yearly, and having a scapegoat and etc. for the sin offering and the different things is what made us okay, not what we do. And even that was only like a temporary thing until the true Lamb came. So anyway, but back to Judaism. So Judaism is an ideology, but it's not Torah, the word of the Most High. And so I don't need an ideology. I need His word, and that's why I would. And again, this isn't comprehensive, and this is just really high level. But for example, Judaism is is probably closer to Islam. Actually, really, today's Jews would, they believe they're closer to Islam, and some of their sages and scholars have said that people who practice Islam are okay because they're not idolaters, but they believe that people who practice Christianity, believe in the Messiah, are. And I'm not trying to cause a schism, because if that causes a schism, and you call yourself a believer, a Christian, then you really aren't. Because if you love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself, finding out just what somebody believes should not cause a schism with you. It shouldn't. What it should do is cause you to pray for people, if anything. Look, I'm not on a moral high horse, trying to tell you, but I'm just saying cause and effect. If this is who you are, then these should be your effects. That's really where I'm coming from. And if it's not, doesn't mean you can't get there. We can get there. It's all in the decision. It's all in our commitment. But back to Judaism is and Kabbalism, which was integrated in part of that. Kabbalism was the, like I said, the mystic part, supposedly get you closer to God through all these different things that you're doing, whereas you only get closer to the Father through the things He says to do, which is His Word, which is why, like for example, Adam and Eve, they really had only one commandment. He says, "Don't eat of this tree and the fruit of the garment, in the garden." Garment, and they had one commandment, and then He gave us 10, and we still don't keep them either. Like for example, He says, like a lot of people, especially Christians, not everyone, but a lot of them, He says, "Remember my Sabbath, keep it holy," and a lot of us don't do that. And He gave us a Sabbath, and we changed it. Not we, but it was changed in Constantinople during the in 321 AD, I believe, changed the Sabbath, the date of the Sabbath, or 325, one of those AD. And like for example, here's another one. He gave us 10 commandments. He said, "Don't make any graven image of things in heaven or things on earth or under the earth and in the sea, etc." And yet, like I said before, we have all these graven images. We have pictures of Jesus and angels. The only time He told us to do something was when He said, "Create these cherubim," which would have been, but that was at His direction, not ours. When He was giving them direction to create the cherubim on the Ark of the Covenant. But otherwise, He said, "Don't make any graven images of anything in heaven or on earth, under the earth, etc." And yet we do. So we break those commandments as well. So we really can't blame Adam and Eve too much. But my whole point is, He wants us to believe and follow His Word, not what we want to create about His Word. Let His Word stand by itself. And that's where Judaism came. It was all these scholars and rabbis and people that came up with what they wanted to believe about His Word. And even that rabbis and Levites aren't all necessarily the same. The Levites were the ones that were supposed to be the priests, and Judaism allows rabbis, and a rabbi doesn't necessarily have to come from the line of Levi. And again, this isn't to put anybody down. I'm just trying to put out truths so that our framework and our understanding is based on the truth and not based on religion, assumptions, and what people tell us. Our truth is based on the truth. And the Messiah said in John 17:17, He says, and I'm going to end on this, He says, "Thy word is truth." So always go with the Word. And even our history, or especially oral history, what we come up with is not always 100% accurate. I'd rather go and see it for myself. I want to see it. I want to read it for myself, see it for myself, and then I make my decisions based on that. All right, I'm going to finish on that. We talked about Judaism a little bit, and like I said, it's not comprehensive. It's just an overview. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share the channel, and drop a comment. Definitely appreciate comments, and tune in again. And next week we'll go with another word, maybe on the Talmud, and we'll continue this reality check series. And that's really what this is about. Just giving a little dose of reality and not hearsay. Anyway, love you. And Yahweh bless you and keep you. And his peace be upon you. Shalom.